the extraordinary.
That film is remarkable. It was shot 21 years ago. Good evening. I'm Warwick Moss. It is a story with the kind of disturbing undercurrent that built up over the Amityville horror incident. It is a ghost story, but with this one, there are photographs and videotape that have excited not only Hollywood and the US publishing world, but scientific circles as well. So far, the people that hold the evidence have kept wraps on most of it. But our investigation of the real story behind the hype has turned up elements we didn't expect, including some video of the San Pedro ghost. It is either the story of an exceptional haunting or an elaborate hoax. It happened here, in this drab turn-of-the-century bungalow at the edge of the harbour in San Pedro, an hour south of Los Angeles. At the time, it was the temporary home of 32-year-old Jackie Hernandez, who was separated, pregnant, and struggling to support herself and her 2-year-old son, Jamie. Circumstances some point to as the likely source of an overactive imagination. Like Amityville, the story embodies eyewitness accounts of foul-smelling bloody liquid oozing from walls, collapsing beds, ghostly apparitions, strange lights, and something extra. The first recorded attempted murder of a human by a ghost. The alleged victim was this man, Jeff Wheatcraft, a still photographer who was a member of a team that investigated the haunting. Wheatcraft is a former school principal with a master's degree in administration.
Something did take me and put a plastic clothesline around my neck and pulled me to the side of the attic and hung me on a nail.
It is this kind of testimony, photographs, and videotape that has fired the imagination of publishers and movie makers. Jackie Hernandez's version of the haunting, the one that prompted the investigation, begins in 1988. She says it became a 3-year nightmare that involved not one, but 2 ghosts, one friendly, one vengeful. Her story came to the attention of University of California psychophysiologist Dr. Barry Taff, a long-time investigator of the paranormal.
I guess what's particularly unique about this case is that the phenomena had a distinct belligerent, malevolent nature to it, in the sense that it almost seemed bent on hurting people.
Taft teamed up Wheatcraft with a professional cameraman, Barry Conrad, a self-described cynic when it comes to the supernatural.
I wanted to see proof. I wanted to see something that would convince me personally that the phenomena was real. Now, I had read a lot of material about haunting phenomena.
In the beginning, Jackie's haunting experience began mildly enough, with her cat chasing unexplained shadows in the walls of the bungalow. Then she began to hear voices in the attic. One day, she saw pencils fly out of a pencil holder. Then came the day of the ooze. Jackie was washing dishes with her babysitter, and suddenly, the blood-like liquid began seeping from the kitchen walls.
When I pulled my hands out, the first thing, that's when it first appeared, was on my gloves underneath the water. I pulled them out and there was this orange stuff on them, and I didn't show Chrissy. I was thinking, I wonder what this is. My first thought was I cut my finger or something, but that wasn't the case. And I turned around to show her because it was all over, and then I noticed it was coming out of the glasses, it was coming off the walls, it was just oozing everywhere.
When details of her nightmare came to the attention of Conrad and his colleagues, they were ready to categorize it with the thousands of other duds and hoaxes reported each year.
We didn't expect anything to happen. You could go through hundreds of these cases and nothing would ever happen.
Then they spent 2 nights in the house, and the San Pedro haunting was about to become legend. The team was armed with sophisticated electronic sensing devices, video cameras, infrared detectors, and image intensifiers.
Early on in the case, some viscous fluid was flowing out of Jackie's cupboard, and we took some samples back and had it analyzed, and it was a sort of a clear fluid with a orange fluorescence to it, and it turned out to be human blood plasma from a male, an older man. It had a heavy copper and iodine content to it. It was heavily oxidized. Now, what is that doing flowing out of anyone's cupboard in any house, let alone Jackie's?
Even during their interview of Hernandez on the first night, Conrad and Wheatgraft heard furious banging and scraping sounds in the attic. The noise prompted photographer Wheatgraft to climb above the ceiling. Almost at once, his 35mm camera flew from his hands.
I have the camera up behind, over my shoulder, and I'm firing 1, 2, and I remember firing into, I think it was the 3rd frame. And as I fired into that 3rd frame, I get this jerk of this camera being pulled out of my hands, completely pulled out of my hands. And you know, that's frightening because you know that there's nobody in that attic.
The experience this night prompted an investigation of the Jackie Hernandez case that would last 2 years, for the ghost in the attic was about to go haywire. The second incident in the attic involved Wheatgraft again, almost as though the ghost had somehow singled him out as his target. Wheatgraft and another investigator had climbed into the rafters together. At first, they could see and hear nothing unusual. Then suddenly, in the darkness, Wheatgraft felt something around his neck and cried out. In the confusion, the camera flashed.
And the next thing I remember is my neck is pulled over to the side near a rafter, 2x4 rafter, and I'm hung on a nail. I didn't know I was hung on a nail, of course, but I knew that there was something around my neck. And I knew that I had lost some time there because I don't remember anything being put over my neck or around my neck or anybody grabbing me or anybody picking me up or anything picking me up. But all of a sudden, there I was.
All right.
I told you, get down, get down!
Put something around my neck.
Oh my God.
Jeff, get down right now.
Oh my God, I knew it when it was coming.
Please, get down, please.
What is this, Eric?
I wanted to get the hell out of there, and I think the statement was when I got down, it's definitely raising hell. And it was raising.
I don't know. What's on?
Whatever it was vicious.
Down out of there, buddy.
Can you find my glasses?
Gary, Jeff,
Look at this.
Jeff, turn the camera.
Jeff, are you okay?
Jeff,
I'm fine.
Jeff, tell me what happened, buddy.
Well, I don't know, Gary. I told Gary that there was nothing happening up there, and he turned around and came. He was coming this way. All of a sudden, I feel this thing around my neck, and it's got me hanging, and it's pulling on my leg.
Those that accept the Hernandez story believe that the ghost could be the spirit of a seaman named Herman Hendrickson, who drowned in San Pedro Harbor in 1930. Conrad believes that Hendrickson contacted them one night during a session with a Ouija board.
So we tried it on a lark that night, and I have to tell you, it was an incredible experience. It was the most frightening experience that I'd had. What happened that night was right out of a horror movie. The room got extremely frigid, extremely cold. The table shook violently. This entity communicated in very clear sentences, spelled out very intelligent words. And he told us that he was murdered. I said, where did you die? And it said, Pedro Bay. I said, what year? It said 1930.
If Hendrickson is the vengeful ghost, who is the friendly orb of light that has so far acted benignly to both Hernandez and the investigation team? Jackie believes it is the spirit of the man who built the San Pedro bungalow, John Damon. Hernandez says both the friendly ghost and the vengeful one have left her alone the past 2 years since she settled in Los Angeles. She doesn't know where the bad one has gone, but believes the friendly one actually bid her a graceful farewell. Near the end of the haunting, Jackie says, the ball led her to the headstone of Herman Hendrickson in a San Pedro cemetery. It hovered above the grave for a moment, then suddenly disappeared.